Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about Texas Governor Greg Abbott and a little bit Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton talking tough, but really not having many cards to play. Okay. The basic issue here is Texas Republicans are looking to gerrymander, or I should say re-gerrymander, the legislature in a way that would squeeze out count them, five more seats in Congress. And that's just right. I mean, five, it's a pivotal number right now. Congress is at the razor's edge of a couple votes to deal with. All eyes seem to be on the midterms for Democrats and a possible big gain, but this would just cut into it five. It's really sort of a serious business on the national political scene. So the Democrats did something really remarkable. They've done it once before during the Trump era, and that is they walked out. The Dems just left, and mainly left the states and went to friendlier climes, namely blue states like Illinois, where they're, come on in, the weather's fine here. And if you're not in Texas, they can't pull this nasty political re-gerrymandering because the Texas Constitution says you need to have a certain number, I think 150, but of legislators present to do business. So without that number, they can't do anything. And without the Democrats, they don't have that number. Now, they pulled this, the Republicans start to put this plan into action. And just very briefly there, they think they found a new sort of rich pocket of Republican voters, largely Hispanic males, and that they can squeeze out and draw crazy lines that actually give rise to five new Republican members of Congress. And very unusual and very aggressive. States don't normally do this in the midterm. They do it at the beginning of a cycle after a census. But that's the stratagem, and it's directed exactly at the 2026 midterms, which seem to be trending in Democrats' favor. California, among others, has said, you try this trick, we'll do it too, and counter you. I'll just say briefly, maybe for another YouTube. I don't think it's a game that Dems can win or even tie the way things go. Many more of their states are by, merit selection commissions, as they all should be. To take one giant step back, let me just say, this is part and parcel of what has totally fueled the Republicans' rule in much of the last 20 years. They haven't had for almost any of that time a majority, but different gerrymandering tricks which the Supreme Court says, we won't think of. It's all political question. And the Electoral College and the like has permitted them to not just rule, but to jam it down the throats of Democrats, right? Democrats now in the Congress are losing, 50-49 vote after 50-49 vote. There are few mechanisms for minorities to express themselves, as there should be in a healthy democracy, but the Republicans have largely taken them away. But in Texas, they have this one kind of ultimate strategy. So they've left town and they're, eating sandwiches and watching TV with friends in blue states. And here comes Greg Abbott, Texas's tough talking governor, and says, this ends now. You're being truants. Come back, and suggests that he's going to send out Texas Rangers and arrest all these guys. Good luck to him. He just can't do it. And that's really the news. When you look into it today, there's actually a opinion out of Ken Paxton's office. Ken Paxton himself, by the way, not just a partisan, but a nasty partisan, dishonest. I'm sorry. It's part of the record, and impeached, but narrowly stuck in there, but, disliked across the board anyway. From his office, there's an opinion, as attorneys general sometimes do in different states, and it says first, it's not a crime to, there's nothing unconstitutional or criminal about not showing up for work, which is really what the Dems, we're all having a little break here in Illinois. You guys try to, go about your business, but of course they can't. Abbott talking tough, but first of all, you send the Texas Rangers to Illinois, they're nobodies there, and there's no crime that they could arrest people for. It's just tough talk. It sounds as if, what? How can you do this? Go arrest those legislators, but you can't. And especially outside of it, you could maybe kind of collar them and force them back if they're in Texas, but nobody's in Texas. Okay, so that just ain't going to work. Abbott has a new strategy he's suggesting, but it's only making Dems who know the law more gleeful to see him sort of struggling this way. He says, okay, there's an option for using the courts to declare a legislative seat vacant. You can imagine somebody runs away to South America or, disappears or whatever. You don't want it. You need to be able to fill it, but you can sometimes need a judicial determination. The seat is vacant, so you can run a special election. But what does that mean here? First, this is the thing that they're now suggesting, and the main sort of Democratic spearhead of this is saying, bring it on, because what it would entail is going to judicial district after judicial district after judicial district and having as a question of fact, has this seat been abandoned, that seat been abandoned? And by the way, they haven't been. They're, out on a little whatever break, but they haven't abandoned their seats. And, it would be a total travesty and injustice to the voters who put them in there to say, oh, you've abandoned. It would just be, politics masquerading as law. Moreover, if they did it, what would then have to ensue is in every Democratic district, new special elections, which would largely, bring Democrats back to office. But more importantly, they don't have that kind of time. So in order to effectively get these 5 people in for the 2026 midterms, and that's what this is about. This is trying to, seeing the tsunami of blue coming at them and wanting to blunt it in some way. So let's try to get these 5 tried and true Republican new Texan reps in there. But they couldn't hold special elections, et cetera, and do them all to install them. So it's one more empty saber-rattling threat from Abbott, or you could say Abbott and Paxton. So the Dems are like, yeah, bring it on, et cetera. And so, very frustrating to the R's. It sort of happened 4 years ago when they also, about something similar, kind of voting nastiness, the Dems left the state. It's all they had. It's sort of, you can think of it almost like a filibuster. This is an ultimate in some kind of marginal democratic rights to just say, you're not playing fair, so we're not playing. Now, here's the problem for Dems as I see it. As long as these 5 seats are created by the end of the year, they are in place for the 2026 election. So the Republicans are looking like, real sort of horses' asses for talking so tough when they get, no cards to play. But they may have a waiting game to play, because you can't imagine that the Dems are going to, stay away all of 2025. Illinois and sandwiches and guest rooms will get old, and Thanksgiving, Halloween, whatever, that you can't imagine they'll be there indefinitely. Now, here's something I don't know. Can they come back and say, okay, here we are, glad to be here. What's the next order of business? Flag Day, great, et cetera. And then, but as soon as the Republicans start to initiate the business of gerrymandering, they leave again. That seems possible to me. So that might be their antidote for the overall waiting game. But in general, we have the dynamic that Republicans don't have a good answer, legal answer to Democrats leaving. I think we should sort of think of it like a filibuster, an actual, but extreme, it ain't easy to pack your bags, leave your family, et cetera, but something that Dems can do. But then how is it going to work? Is there a way in which time is on the Republican side? Because, you can't do this December 30th. You got to print things up and pass things, et cetera. But, there's still a few months to go. The Dems had to leave when they left because the Republicans were taking up this nasty gerrymandering effort. But can they actually parry them and make the clock run out when the clock technically goes to the end of the year? That's the sort of issue on the horizon. But in terms of the general, we're out of here because you guys aren't playing fair. Abbott is talking tough, but I think it's all basically empty, and this drama and impasse will continue unless and until something about the overall clock runs out on the Dems. So a kind of interesting, almost sort of politically exciting, if you're a political nerd, situation playing out in Texas, where the Dems have physically left the state and said, now you can't do business. Go ahead, try your worst. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.